Hi, I'm Candice Malcolm, and this is the Candice Malcolm Show news update. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026. It's my son's birthday, so happy birthday, Jasper. We have a ton of news to get to, so here are the top stories we're looking at today.
I'm by this right now. Really intense scene happening here in Puerto Vallarta.
Many Canadian vacationers are stranded in Mexico after unbelievable events have unfolded there Sunday afternoon, including the taking out of a top cartel leader and the cartels reacting. Really tense, really terrifying. We're going to get through all of that today.
Throwing the doors wide open to anyone and everyone across the globe has flooded our classrooms, emergency rooms, and social support systems with far too many people, far too quickly.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is letting Albertans decide how their province should deal with the issue of mass migration, announcing that there will be a referendum on that issue coming up in October.
Barry Neufeld, who's a former trustee of the Chilliwack School Board, was found guilty today of not believing in transgenderism.
The BC Human Rights Tribunal has fined a former school trustee $750,000 for stating biological truths and facts. It's really unbelievable. And finally, the legacy media is just pushing fake news left, right, and center. We're going to get to some of the most egregious examples that we saw over the weekend. All right, folks, there is a lot of news to get into, so we're going to get right into it. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also known as the CJNG, a major drug cartel that apparently has power and has control over large swaths of Mexico. Well, their leader was taken out on Sunday. His name was El Mencho. He was a top dog in this cartel, and basically all hell broke loose in the beachside town of Puerto Vallarta. I've been to Puerto Vallarta a couple of times. It is a beautiful, lovely place, and you sort of get a false sense of security because you feel like you could be in California or somewhere in the developed world, but the reality is that Mexico is not. Mexico is a very dangerous country, as we saw what unfolded on Sunday. So one of the country's most popular tourist destination was suddenly filled with smoke and fire and gunfire and cartels just absolutely acting like terrorists in the Middle East, shooting up areas, setting stores on fire, setting a Costco on fire, terrorizing people in this town. The cartel has been designated as a terror group. They were destroying infrastructure, creating barricades, and taking over even some airports. It was an incredibly scary scene. Let me just tell you, folks, my parents are down there right now. My dad, my stepmom vacation every year in a little town just north of Puerto Vallarta. I talked to them on the phone. They're safe. Thank goodness. Thank God. We were praying for them and all of the Canadians. But let me tell you, there are thousands and thousands of Canadians down there, and it must just be sheer terror for them and for the families like myself. So hours after the attack, streets appeared to be reclaimed by the Mexican military, who eventually overpowered the cartels with helicopters, tanks, and firepower. So one amazing, incredible independent journalist from Vancouver, BC, Dan Dix, happened to be down there. He was speaking at an event and receiving an award, I believe, and he did some incredible reporting from the ground of just what it looked like and what it was like. So we're going to play his footage that was totally going viral online, plus other scenes, incredible scenes of people hiding out in airports, Canadian passengers on the tarmac. A WestJet flight to Edmonton was apparently about to board when this all went down. And so the passengers can be seen running onto the tarmac. And you'll also see Canadians on a rooftop. It's supposed to be a vacation, right? They're out there getting some sun in a pool and just looking around and seeing like pure terror, that actually the place you're visiting isn't as safe as you were led to believe. So let's show those clips.
Just walking on the beach and we saw smoke everywhere, and we're being informed that there's major cartel violence happening right now all over Puerto Vallarta. We're being told, do not go out at all, do not walk in the streets, do not get in a taxi or an Uber, do not go to the airport. In fact, the entire airport may be shut down right now because of this cartel violence. There was a top drug lord cartel member, El Mencho, who has been killed. I believe there was a $15 million bounty on this man's head, and he is now dead. And that has caused this whole situation to pop off. The place looks like an absolute war zone right now, folks. Cartel has been setting up blockades in the streets, stopping cars. A whole bus was set on fire. You've got cartel members who literally look like the military. These guys are serious. A hospital was under attack, people running for their lives. There was the Guadalajara airport that was under attack. People literally running all over the place, screaming and crying. The Puerto Vallarta airport as well has had a big scare. A lot of people were evacuated on the tarmac. Had to run out on the runway to get away from the intense situation. And it seems like it's not about to slow down anytime soon. As I understand it, the cartel have announced that they are going to be entering private homes and potentially hotel resorts at 5 p.m. Our time if their demands are not met.
And so, like I mentioned, the cartels were blowing up cars. They were commandeering cars and setting them on fire to create barricades, blowing up gas stations, burning down businesses, grocery stores. Like I said, even at Costco, they attacked a Costco, which obviously is there for the American and the Canadian tourists. So really scary, taking over banks. They captured multiple airports, and they're basically just trying to spread as much terror and destruction as they could in response and retaliation for their leader being taken out. And now, in the midst of this genuine tense, scary moment and the chaos that was happening, a left-wing politician tried to jump in and virtue signal. Let's just say it didn't go very well. So NDP MP Heather McPherson had this to say on social media. She wrote this: "Many Canadians, especially members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, are in Puerto Vallarta, where violence has quickly escalated. A shelter-in-place order is in effect. Please stay vigilant and consult the Government of Canada Travel Advisory." I'm sorry. Especially the LGBT. Many Canadians are trapped in Puerto Vallarta, especially members of the LG. Like why especially? Why not just all Canadians that are there, right? Like why do you have to have a special shout out and say that it's especially important for this one community that are there, right? Like it's so absurd, especially like I said, families like mine. Like actually, my parents are there, and it's quite scary to see the things unfolding on social media, and to have our blowhard politicians trying to virtue signal and make it about one group. I mean, it's just absurd. And so she rightfully just got absolutely ratioed on social media for good reason. Everybody was taking a jab at her. You see the top comment there from Cat Canada, especially members of this community. Like, how are those Canadians different than other Canadians? Why are you like this? That's a great question. That's like the only question that comes out of this tweet. Why are you like this? Nobody agrees with this. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. Not even members of the gay community. No one likes this anymore. So just keep it to yourself. Okay. Not only that, folks, you have to remember that this is all part of a years-long campaign by the Canadian media to try to scare Canadians into going away from going to the US, right? Like for as long as I can remember, lots and lots of Canadians would spend lots of their winter in warm American states, right? The Sun Belt. My family used to have a place down in Arizona that we would go to. Actually, when I was a child and I was growing up, we had a place in California as well, right? And so people used to go to California. They used to go to Arizona. Some people go to Florida, right? There's nothing wrong with going to these places. It's actually safe and secure, and Canadians are more than welcome. But over the last few years, we've seen a coordinated attempt from our politicians and our political class and our elites and the liberals, including the media, telling Canadians that, oh no, it's not safe to go to the US. Oh, you're not welcome in the United States. Oh, let's boycott the United States. Last year, we had elite politicians like Justin Trudeau and BC Premier David Eby saying, self-styled Resistance MP Charlie Angus urging Canadians not to go to the US, go to Mexico. Instead, many of these elbows up Canadians said that they were not going to go to Florida anymore, not going to go to Arizona anymore. Instead, they're going to go to Mexico, okay? So look what happened to all those Canadians in Mexico. And this is a CBC clip uncovered by Ryan Garrison on X. You can see this clip literally telling them, hey, go to Puerto Vallarta. Go to Puerto Vallarta. It's the best. You'll have a great time, urging Canadians into what turned out to be a very dangerous situation. Let's play that clip.
On the bucket list is Puerto Vallarta.
The Manitoba couple usually spends weeks or even months at a trailer park in Westlaco, Texas, but not this year. They're not the only ones making that decision. According to the Mexican Ministry of Tourism, the number of Canadians flying to Mexico increased by 11.3% between January and September compared to the year before.
Yeah, there's tons to do in Puerto Vallarta. There's tons. And in all around that whole area. So you won't be bored.
Good.
Perfect.
All right, folks, coming up, we'll talk about insanity from a school trustee who is being persecuted by a human rights tribunal in Chilliwack. And at the end of the show, we're going to get to lots of gaslighting from the legacy media, including about the Olympics. We've got a lot to say about that. But first, this happened late last week. So Alberta Premier Danielle Smith did a live television address on Thursday evening, and she has taken aim at liberal mass immigration, saying she'll let Albertans decide on a host of immigration policies, including seizing control of Alberta's borders, prioritizing economic migrants over so-called bogus refugees, and restricting social services to residents who have been in the province for more than a year. Here's what Premier Smith had to say.
And then came Justin Trudeau's disastrous open border immigration policies, which have caused an unprecedented strain on our healthcare, education, and other social programs. In just the last 5 years of Trudeau's tenure, Alberta grew by almost 600,000 people to more than 5 million, all while Ottawa throttled our most important job-creating industries and prioritized immigration away from economic migrants and instead focused on international students, temporary workers, and asylum seekers. Adding 600,000 people in 5 years is like adding half the city of Calgary or Edmonton in 5 years. Although sustainable immigration has always been an important part of our provincial growth model, throwing the doors wide open to anyone and everyone across the globe has flooded our classrooms, emergency rooms, and social support systems with far too many people, far too quickly.
Okay, so this televised announcement came ahead of the province's budget announcement. Things aren't going very well on the budget front for Alberta, given the dip in global oil prices. And she said part of the things that they're going to be looking at and part of the challenges is just this huge growth in population that have happened. She talked about that referendum that is going to happen in October, a number of other issues that are going to be added to that, including voter ID, whether the province should charge a premium for residents with non-permanent status in order to qualify for healthcare and social services. Smith will also give Albertans the ability to vote on things related to Alberta autonomy over the federal government. Smith noted the referendum, which again takes place in October, will allow the government to truly put the needs of Albertans first. And really, something that's just not surprising at all. Whenever conservatives talk about immigration, even if you talk about it in the most moderate, modest sense, like, hey guys, maybe this whole mass immigration thing wasn't the best idea. I don't know, like everyone in the country feels that way now. But as soon as a politician on the conservative side mentions it, what happens? Well, the left run and jump to announce, declare that they must have bad intentions, and the root of this announcement must just be pure, unadulterated racism. So that's exactly what happened. Mark Nixon had a great tweet about this. He said, step 1, push record immigration levels. Step 2, the system buckles. Step 3, people complain. Step 4, call them racist. That's the playbook of the NDP and the Liberals at the same time. And that is exactly right. The Alberta NDP jumped out, and as soon as Smith, mentioned anything about immigration, they just jumped to accuse her of being, yes, you guessed it, racist. It's all just racism. Totally absurd. Here is what that looked like.
All she's delivered on is the innuendo and suggestion that people who are new here are somehow taking things away from people who lived here before. And that is designed to single out people and direct and encourage racism. We know that. We don't need to be, it's not coded language. Anybody who's a person of color has experienced some of this in the last few months, in the last year. They know what's happening here, and it's very clear what it is.
We have to push back against this, guys. It is not okay. Saying that you don't want your country to be overtaken by people who may or may not even want to stay in Canada, may or may not even have good intentions, or just here to milk the system. It's not racist. It's not racist to want to protect your country and the integrity of your system. So good on Premier Danielle Smith for putting that on the table and allowing Albertans to have a say. Okay, folks, still sticking with things happening in British Columbia, truly just the craziest part of the country, I have to say, and I'm from there, so I can say that. After nearly a decade of litigation, the BC Human Rights Tribunal has charged Barry Newfield, who is a former Chilliwack school board trustee. They've charged this guy $750,000. $750,000 fine from this kangaroo court for the crime of stating the truth, stating a biologically objectively true fact. It is just so unbelievable. He publicly opposed gender ideology, and that is a big no-no if you are a public figure or an elected official in Canada. So the BC Teachers Federation and the Chilliwack Teachers Association filed a human rights complaint against Newfield all the way back in 2017. The tribunal only released its final decision last week, finding that Newfield had engaged in hate speech. Hate speech. You're going to get a fine, you're going to lose your job and your livelihood and get humiliated and get taken to the task in Canada if you have wrong speak, if you don't say the government approved things. This is just absolutely a kangaroo court, star court. Like these are the things of like Orwell novels here, and it's happening in real life to our fellow Canadians. So they found that Newfield engaged in, quote, hate speech and created, quote, a poisoned work environment for queer and trans teachers in Chilliwack. So here's one of those horrible, terrible statements that Newfield made. This is one of the ones that they quoted in the tribunal as proof that he violated hate speech laws in Canada. This is what Newfield wrote. He said, "This is dangerous to our kids. Sure, there are a few children that really have difficulty with their body image, and they really are uncomfortable in their bodies. But they're a very, very insignificant percentage, maybe half of 1%. But this SOGI 123, by the way, is sexual identity and sexual orientation and gender identity 123. It's a Vancouver activist organization. So he's saying that their content is confusing many, many more kids. And I don't believe they're really transgender. They're just confused. Do you find that objectionable? Do you think that that's hate speech by just sort of like stating your opinion based in fact? I don't know. I have nothing wrong with that statement. I think it's just true. And it's unbelievable that in this country, you get fined and you get like censured and lose your position and everything, just again, for stating truths. Okay. So this is, again, made Canada. There's kind of a theme going on right now, which is that the world is laughing at us and they're noticing how extreme and crazy we've gone on so many issues, from our own MAID program to mass immigration to the gender ideology. Everyone's laughing at us. And, you know, it's kind of sad. Canada needs to wake up to the fact that we have gone way too extreme, way too far to the left. So English comedy legend John Cleese from Monty Python fame, he chimed in on the decision online, calling it absurd. It's absurd to be fined for recognizing basic biological facts that there are two genders. So here's what he had to say. Well, there are people with Y chromosome and people without. That's two, isn't it? Just checking, because again, one of the things that he said is that just that there are two biological genders, which is obviously true. In another post, Cleese wrote that he won't be able to risk doing shows in British Columbia this fall because the province is just set on persecuting people who state the truth. Okay, folks, I want to talk a bit about the fake news that happened over the weekend. If you're anything like me, you spent Sunday just like perched out on the couch watching Team Canada. I love sports. I love the Olympics. Friday, I took the afternoon off, watched the women's hockey team. I thought the women's game was incredible. I was so proud to watch, right? I was a longtime hockey player. I remember the first time that women's hockey was in the Olympics. I've been watching that game ever since. I feel like every 4 years, the quality of the hockey just gets better and better. And this year I was just amazed. Like the game was so fast. I'm talking about the women's game on Friday. It was so fast. The players were so good. It was such impressive hockey. And of course, it was very, very disappointing to see Canada lose. Canada outplayed in both the women's and the men's game. But you know what? You lose, you're heartbroken. You pick yourself up. You put yourself together. You put a smile on your face and you accept your silver medal. And I didn't see that. I didn't see that from the men or the women. I saw a bunch of pouting faces and anger and frustration. And I didn't really see a lot of sportsmanship from either team. But the thing that I wanted to point out about about the gold medal game, right? So in the lead up to the game, they're showing the history of all the clips of this rivalry, right? Canada versus US, it's an incredible rivalry. We're close, we're allies, we're friends, we're neighbors. A lot of people have family on both sides of the border, myself included. And it's just a great game, right? Every time Canada plays the US, I remember I was actually there in Vancouver in 2010 when the same two countries were in the finals and Canada got that golden goal. I'll never forget that moment. I'll never forget that moment in my entire life. One of my most proud, happy, excited moments as a Canadian happened in 2010, right? And so they're showing you on CBC, they're showing you the montage of all the great moments in sports. And you see Gretzky and you see Mario Lemieux and you see Sidney Crosby and everything. And then right in the middle of that, what do? They interject their nonsense politics, right? So it goes from hockey to all of a sudden we see Mike Myers and the whole elbows up campaign, right? It goes to someone wearing a Never 51 hockey jersey, right? And I'm like, guys, I'm trying to enjoy like a patriotic moment with my family. I just want to watch hockey. I don't want to hear about politics. I don't want to think about politics. I don't want to think about the whole propaganda campaign that you're playing with the 51st state and how you helped Mark Carney steal that election. I don't want to think about that, right? So why do you have to interject politics into our national sport? Honestly, it made me feel sour about the Canadians just for a second, just for a split second. Then I put it out of my mind. Although I will also say that the commercials at the Olympics are incredibly woke. I'll just leave it at that. Incredibly woke commercials. I watched the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago. I watched it on an American feed because I love watching the commercials. And the American commercials, it was like the woke period is over, and all of the commercials were just like unabashedly pro-America, pro our future, pro like everything that's happening in the country. And then you watch Canada and we're still stuck in this like weird woke like 2017 moment. It's just pathetic. But yes, okay, the Americans won and it was heartbreaking. And I don't like those overtimes. I don't like the 3-on-3 overtimes. I think they have to change that, but that's a different conversation, right? As soon as the medals started coming out and you watch these young American players, the team was very young. Incredible stories, right? As soon as they brought on one of the players on the team, sadly was killed by a drunk driver 2 years ago. When they were getting their celebration, they brought his jersey onto the ice. They brought his 2 little kids. I mean, if you didn't have tears in your eyes at that moment, there's something wrong with you, right? At the end of the day, it's about international sportsmanship and the competition. You should feel happy for your American neighbors. You should just feel happy, okay? That's how I felt. Anyways, that's not what was happening for many Canadians. A lot of kind of like temper tantrums happening online, a lot of anger. There was this clip that was going viral of FBI Director Kash Patel in the locker room celebrating with the boys, having a good old time. They called the president. I mean, it's exciting. Forget about the politics. Forget about the party of it. You just won the gold medal and the president of your country is calling. You're going to be pumped. You're going to be stoked. But no, we saw a bunch of nasty comments, especially from Canadians. I'll just point out this one from the Globe and Mail's Andrew Coyne. Okay, he calls Donald Trump a fascist. We went through this on Friday about how the Globe and Mail had this whole piece saying that the United States had fallen to fascism. Stop calling him a fascist. Andrew Coyne says, it doesn't look good on these players partying with the fascists flunky. Okay, no, just, you're coming across as a sore loser there, Andrew Coyne. I want to stick with the Globe and Mail because this story also went totally viral over the weekend. On Friday, the Globe and Mail had an article that said, out of nowhere, Canada became poorer than Alabama. Out of nowhere. How is that possible? How did it happen, guys? Like all of a sudden, we stopped paying attention. Then all of a sudden, Canada's poorer than Alabama. It's called 10 years of Liberals. That's what happened. After 10 years of Liberals, Canada became poorer than Alabama. This is why we needed a change of government, right? This is why Canadians need to wake up to the fact that the Liberals are making our country worse. They're destroying our country and they're making us poor. And the Globe and Mail just has to feign confusion. Like, how did it happen? I have no idea. I don't know. You're the national newspaper. You probably should have had some idea because it didn't just happen overnight, right? It happened over the course of 10 years. Okay, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow with all the news. I'm Candice Malcolm. This is Candice Malcolm Show News Update. Thank you and God bless.